Hello there guys, welcome back to another maths video. In this video we're going to prove three equivalent definitions of convergence of a sequence of real numbers. This is of course a real analysis video. So something to recall, the normal definition of convergence of a sequence. So for a sequence an, where n is a natural number, to converge to, let's say, alpha, we write the limit as n approaches infinity of an equals alpha. That means, in quantifier notation, that means that for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists a capital N in the natural numbers, such that for all lowercase n greater than or equal to that capital N, the distance between an and alpha is less than epsilon. We should be pretty happy with this. I've got videos on this, links in description to the appropriate ones. We're going to look at, in this video, two alternative ways of defining the limit that's really useful. So here's our theorem that we're going to prove today. So if we do have indeed that an is a sequence of real numbers and alpha is a real number, then the following three statements are equivalent to each other. They're identical. So the limit as n approaches infinity of an is alpha. That's just the same as up here. There exists a k greater than 0 such that, and then this is the standard definition of convergence, but with a k epsilon on the end. So there's, for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists a capital N in the natural numbers, such that for all lowercase n greater than or equal to capital N, the distance between an and alpha is less than k epsilon. And finally, the third one is that for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists a capital N in the natural numbers, such that for all lowercase n greater than or equal to capital N, the distance between an and alpha is less than or equal to epsilon. So subtle difference there, less than or equal to epsilon. So we can use all of these interchangeably once we prove that they're all the same, of course. And this is super useful, comes up in lots of proofs. Sometimes you've got to write epsilon over 2 instead of an epsilon. Sometimes you can only show that something is less than or equal to epsilon. So having these at our disposal is going to be super handy. Let's go straight into proving this. So a quick overview, we're going to first show that 1 implies 2. Then we're going to show that 2 implies 3. Then we're going to show that 3 implies 1. So if you think about it, we do have implications going in every kind of direction. To show that two statements are equivalent, you need to show that each of them imply the other. So you need 1 implies 2 and 2 implies 1. For 3, you don't need to show 1 implies 2, 2 implies 3, 3 implies 1, and then like 2 implies 1 and 3 implies 2. And you don't need to do that, because if you've already got that 1 implies 2, and you've got that 2 implies 3, and you've got that 3 implies 1, then if I want to show, for example, that 1 implies 3, I've actually done it already, because I've already got that 1 implies 2 and 2 implies 3. So 1 implies 3, right? So it's a kind of loop. That's what we're going to do. And by the way, this is a strategy that comes up quite a lot. So just don't be confused. We are proving a two-way implication for all statements, but in a kind of circle. So let's start with 1 implies 2. This is probably the easiest one. So if we already assume that 1 is true, then by the definition of the limit, which we have again in the top right up here, we have that, again, for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists an n in the natural numbers, blah, blah, blah. We can see that. We're pretty happy with that. So we know that that is true. Looking at 2, we can see that 2 is actually the same as 1, but again, with this k, there has to just exist a k. It's not all k, it just has to exist. So we can just choose k to be the number 1, and we're done. It's that simple. So just choose k to equal 1. So 1 implies 2. Really simple. Hopefully that makes sense. If k is the number 1, then statement 1 and 2 are identical. So that's all we need to do. Done. So now we're going to show that 2 implies 3. To start that means we need to assume that statement 2 is true. So we're assuming that there does exist some k greater than 0, such that for all epsilon greater than 0, etc., etc., etc. So because this is true for all epsilon greater than 0, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to let epsilon be greater than 0. So we're given epsilon, we don't get to choose. But now I will choose a specific value of epsilon for the sake of showing that it implies statement 3. So in general, statement 2 needs to be true for all epsilon. That's fine. We're already assuming that it is true for all epsilon. But to get from statement 2 to 3, maybe there is a particular epsilon that does that, that's nice. So we're going to choose, I'm going to call epsilon 1 to be the original epsilon, whatever that might be. So again, we're given that, divided by some number k. And k, imagine, because we're assuming that 2 is already true, we know what k is. We are given, for a specific question, we are given what k is. It does exist. We know it exists because we're assuming that 2 is true. Therefore, by statement 2, we can say that for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists capital N in the natural numbers, such that for all lowercase n greater than or equal to capital N, the distance between an and alpha is less than k times, and then our value of epsilon that we're specifically choosing here is epsilon 1. So instead of epsilon, I'm going to have an epsilon 1 here. And remember that epsilon 1 is epsilon over k. So this is equal to k times epsilon over k. And of course the k's cancel out, which just gives us epsilon. Now, is it true that epsilon is less than or equal to epsilon? Because that's what statement 3 is saying. It's about the normal definition, but it's got to be that the distance between an and alpha is less than or equal to epsilon. And of course, epsilon is less than or equal to epsilon, so it is true. So statement 2 implies statement 3. So the last part of the proof is proving that statement 3 implies statement 1. So that means we're going to assume that statement 3 is true. So for all epsilon greater than 0, there exists an n in the natural numbers, etc., 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 such that the distance between an and alpha is less than or equal to epsilon. We're going to assume that that is already true. So we will let epsilon be greater than 0. So again, we don't get to choose what epsilon is. It's true for all epsilon, but because it's true for all epsilon, I can select a specific epsilon, which might get me back to 1. So I'm going to choose epsilon 1. This time I'm going to choose it to be equal to epsilon over 2. So whatever epsilon is, I'm going to choose for my epsilon 1 to be half of that. Therefore, because statement 3 is true, I know that there exists a capital N in the natural numbers, such that for all lowercase n greater than or equal to n, the distance between an and alpha is less than or equal to epsilon over 2. But of course, epsilon over 2 is definitely less than epsilon, because epsilon cannot be 0, it's positive, so half of any positive number is of course less than the original. So that implies that we do have 3 implying 1, because of course by 1, remember the definition, the way that we write this, the limit as n approaches infinity of an equals alpha. In quantifying notation, it's the thing in the top right up here, and indeed you can see that we do have that. So we have shown now that 1 implies 2, 2 implies 3, and 3 implies 1, which means they all imply each other, which means they are all equivalent to each other. So if you were doing a proof and you ended up showing that for all epsilon greater than 0, there existed a natural number such that for all lowercase n greater than or equal to that natural number, the distance between an and alpha was less than epsilon over 2 instead of epsilon, that is completely fine. It is identical. It is equivalent to the definition of convergence. It is completely fine. And we have seen that, and we will see more of that in more proofs. So there's a formal way to sort of fact check that, reality check that, make sure it all checks out. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you've got any questions about the video, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll be very happy to read them and get back to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.